Hello, how you guys doing today? Hey, welcome in. I'm gonna give it a few seconds for people to jump on the live if you do, and while you're coming in, drop where you're watching from in the comments. Um, and are you having a good day, good week? How's the weather where you are? While you wait, I want to talk about something real quick. A lot of people are using AI wrong. Excuse me. Uh, they're typing basic prompts and getting basic answers, and then saying AI doesn't work for them. That's like buying a gym membership and only using the parking lot. What I do and what I teach at Promptify is prompt engineering. Um, that can sound complicated, but it literally just means knowing how to talk to AI, so it gives you something you can actually use. Today, I'm going to show you in a topic, and by the end of this, you'll be able to do this yourself in about 5 minutes. Everything I show you is inside Promptify, and the link is in my bio. Um, so for today, real quick, you just pull up the. All right, so the sentence to kind of summarize what I'll speak, the system that I'll speak on today. Same thing, all the short form videos that I posted on the social media platform that you're seeing this on. Each of them had a prompt that could be used by itself, but that prompt is also a part of an entire system. I'm going to explain the entire system in this video. So for this, it's build a source visible student presentation. Um, so so what I'll say for this is my slide. Oh, okay. Excuse me. That's just one of the prompt. That's like the first prompt. Let me actually say the. So that's something that's going to be part of the summarization. Excuse me. That's going to be something that makes up the system. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about sentence that summarizes the entire system. Then I'm gonna go into each part, go into each prompt, and explain how each prompt makes up the system and the answers to each prompt. So, and I'll show you how it makes up the system by flipping to the screen and showing that, as per usual. So, the sentence to summarize what I'm going to talk about today is build a presentation you can explain and defend. This entire system will help you do this with actually any topic, but we're gonna use um we'll use a specific example, right? So this here's the thing. Uh this starts with a half finished class presentation and ends with a deck you can explain, a source check, and a rehearse, and a submit with last minute and a submit with last minute panic. Um excuse me, a submit with less minute panic. So not last minute, but I pronounced that incorrectly. Less last minute panic, I should say. AKA, you are confident in this thing that you're going to submit, and it's solid. You can defend it, and you're utilizing facts. You have citations, um, citing where your information is coming from, so it's solid, right? People can hear it, and they might ask for clarification on something if you weren't clear, but there's no you being on the ropes about what you're talking about, and scrambling for no scrambling for an answer. You have everything you need to work with right here. Here's a system to help you do that. So as per usual, I'm gonna explain the steps or give a sentence that kind of summarizes each prompt before I show it, and then so I'm gonna give a summarization of each prompt in the system. There's five before I now flip to the screen and show it and read off all of it as per usual. So for this, the goal is not AI. Okay, the goal is not AI made slides. The goal is a presentation you can defend. Just keep that in mind, obviously, right? Unless you know enough that you can just have AI put some stuff together and you actually know what it is you're talking, like you're well read about this stuff, and then you can just off memory, you can explain exactly what it is, where the sources that you got this information from, or why you know it's a fact. Like, what's their proof? And you can explain, and then you can defend anything that comes up as a question, right? or you have a solid answer, unless you know this off the top of your head because you're just well read about the thing you're speaking on. Here's a system that can make sure that you're always in that position, right? You can just know things, like I say, as per usual, or you can have a system help you be in the position to where what you're doing is solid. So even if you don't know it like the back of your hand yet, here's a system that makes sure that you're in the right position when you're even presenting it, right? Or you're in the best position possible. Uh, so for this, the first prompt, um, all right. So real quick, just give me a moment. So for the first prompt, the general idea is my slide finally says where that claim came from. Uh, the second thing we're gonna talk about is or the second prompt. The idea of that one, uh, just pulling it up real quick. So the idea for the second prompt is I turned a dense reading into a speaking outline. Just the main idea before I go show it. But it's the second prompt and the second step in the system. Uh, excuse me. The third one is only record jobs people actually agreed to. So you're clear on like who's responsible for what. Um, the fourth prompt is going to be use questions to find the evidence you need to review. Uh, questions regarding where is there anything that's like a loose end and not clear. Uh, even if you think it's evidence, um, just make sure you're clear about everything. Like you know for a fact, or you don't. So you need to review this, right? It's okay if you don't know it, but like maybe that needs to be put in a that shouldn't be put in a category where you're talking about something that you know for a fact that'll be placed somewhere else or that's left out because you don't know it yet, right? So just organizing the information you have, using questions to find the evidence you need to review, and the fifth prompt is going to be compare the deck to the rubric before you call it done. um, all right, the final it's pretty much like a final check comparing the deck to the actual rubric before you call it done. How's everything lining up with what you need to have? Um, and real quick before I flip to the screen, okay, I'm just checking something real quick. So sources, quotation, accuracy, academic integrity, policy, and your own understanding. So this stuff I just mumbled is just things that are going to be made clear. Obviously, when you utilize a symptom, you're going to be clarifying all these things. So what I'm going to do real quick is going to flip to the screen and show you each prompt that we put in today. Um, these prompts making up the system. I'm going to read off each prompt and explain its position in the system, which then reveals how this system is useful for this exact task, right? So the first prompt is compare compare these presentation claims with the supplied course materials. For each claim, there's going to be return supported wording, source location if provided, or needs a source check. Do not create citations or add facts um, not in the materials. So taught the chat GPT, so it has the draft claims which would have been pasted, and it also has the course materials that would have been pasted. So um so the draft claims was the LinkedIn messaging gap checklist reviews 10 LinkedIn posts. That's the first one. The second one was the checklist focuses on identifying repeat messaging gaps. The third one is that the resource includes 5 priority recommendations. And the fourth draft claim is the resource is provided as a one-page checklist. When it comes to course materials, the first part of that is resource overview. The LinkedIn messaging gap checklist is a one-page resource for reviewing 10 LinkedIn posts. The second is purpose. Why can't I say that? Purpose. The checklist focuses on identifying repeat messaging gaps. The third course material is recommendations. The completed review includes 5 priority recommendations. And the fourth course material is format. The resource is provided in a one-page checklist. So we're going to read across in this chart that ChatGPT gave for the prompt after I read off first part of the answer. Here's a claim comparison. So the first draft claim is LinkedIn messaging gap checklist reviews 10 LinkedIn posts. The supported wording for that specifically is the LinkedIn messaging gap checklist is a one-page resource for reviewing 10 LinkedIn posts. And the source location is resource overview. Now, the second draft claim is the checklist focuses on identifying repeat messaging gaps. The supported wording for that specifically is the checklist focuses on identifying repeat messaging gaps, and the source location is purpose. The third draft claim is the resource includes 5 priority recommendations. The supported wording is the completed review includes 5 priority recommendations, and the source location is recommendations. The fifth draft claim is the resource is provided as one page. The fourth draft claim, let me just say that again, is the resource is provided as a one-page checklist. The supported wording is the resource is provided as a one-page checklist, and the source location was format. And what did this answer do regarding the fictional scenario that I gave it to put in? So it was compare the presentation claims to the supported course materials. So here's the draft claims right here. Here's the course materials. There's a chart that showcases how they all compare below, obviously, and just scroll to show that chart again, right? And he even put the source location for each one, or AKA for each one. There's supported wording, there's source location, it provided, and there's a source check, right? And it do not create citations or add facts or materials, which it didn't do. And guess what? There's the draft claims, there's the course materials. Then here in the claim comparison, there's a draft claim. We read off all those. There's a supported wording for each one of those draft claims, and then there's a source location for every single one of the draft claims that we have, right? So that prompt answered that. So all that stuff is clear regarding your presentation. In just the beginning step, you have all these things sorted out, right? Based on the notes that you input, it organized all that information for you. Like I said, these systems just making things easier and placing it, mapping it out where you want it to be placed so that it's now easy to see instead of having to read through notes to gather up all that information and try to remember it. It's all laid out right there for you. Or you could literally read it all out and then draw the chart yourself or organize it somehow yourself. But like I said, AI can save you time with this, obviously. So create 90 seconds. The second prompt or second step is create a 90-second speaking outline from this assigned reading. Include main point, 2 evidence points, 1 limitation or qualifier stated in the reading, in a transition. Use plain language. Do not add outside facts. Now we would have pasted the reading excerpt, and we would have pasted the audience course context, which I gave it to something to work with. So for this, I'm gonna just read the answer. 90-second speaking outline. The main point was LinkedIn messaging gap checklist provides a structured way to review 10 LinkedIn posts for repeat messaging gaps. The evidence point one is the reading states that the checklist is designed around a review of 10 LinkedIn posts. The evidence point two is the reading identifies 5 priority recommendations as part of the completed review. The limitation or qualifier is the reading describes the checklist as a one-page resource that does not state that it measures business performance or outcomes. And the transition is with that scope in mind. The next point is how the checklist is organized for the review. Um, Now, what did this answer do? This answer was creating an as 90-second speaking outline. Create a 90-second speaking outline from this assigned reading. Include the main point, include 2 evidence points, 1 limitation or qualifier stated in the reading, and a transition. Use plain language. Do not add outside facts. Filled in the reading excerpt and audience course context with an example. And what did the prompt do? It organized all this. So from the 90-second speaking outline, there's the, as we explained in the prompt, right? There's the main point, there's the evidence point one, there's evidence point two, there's the limitation or qualifier, and then there's the transition. So that's the second prompt and second step of the system of creating a presentation that you can defend. The third prompt is, or the third prompt and third step is create a group project task board from these messages. If you have a group, unless you're doing this yourself, create a group project task board from these messages. Return task, named owner, and stated due date, dependency, and unassigned items. Use only agreed or explicitly volunteered work. Do not assign people by inference. And then the example is pasted from the messages. Now, so here's the task board chart and the answer. And yeah, obviously the messages, what there's an example I gave it. So in this chart, the first task is provide 10 LinkedIn posts. Named owner is Maya Chen. Is a made up example. Stated due date not stated. Dependency is none stated. The second task is review the 10 LinkedIn posts. That was assigned to Alex Rivera. Again, we're making up examples. The stated due date is not stated, and the dependency is 10 posts provided. So the third task is identify repeat messaging gaps. The named owner is Alex Rivera. And obviously, named owner could also be the person responsible for the task. Just another way to say it, just to add as much clarity as possible. The stated due date is not, there's no stated due date for that. Didn't add that information for this example. I should have added maybe just a few just for fun, right? So let me just say this again. The task board, the third task is identify repeat messaging gaps. That the named owner is Alex Rivera. The stated due date is not stated, and the dependency is post review. The fourth task is create 5 priority recommendations. The named owner is Alex Rivera. The stated due date is not stated, and the messaging gaps identified. The dependency is messaging gaps identified. Let me just think real quick. All right, so the fifth task on this is prepare the PDF. The named owner is Alex Rivera. The stated due date is not stated, and the dependency is recommendations completed. The sixth task on this is the sixth task on this is review the PDF. The named owner is Maya Chen. The stated due date is not stated, and the dependency is a PDF completed. And then the seventh task on this is walk through the PDF. The named owner is Alex Rivera and Maya Chen. the stated due date is not stated, and the dependency is PDF reviewed. Um, and the unassigned items where no additional agreed or explicitly volunteered tasks are stated, and no due dates are explicitly stated. So what did this answer do? This answer was create a group project task board from these messages. Um, there's a return task named owner, or what it returns is there's a task, there's a named owner, there's a stated due date, and there's a dependency and unassigned items. As you can see, the task, named owner, stated due date, and dependency. There's a task, there's the person who's in charge of these things in this category, in this column. Stated due date didn't even have an example for that, but what if fill those in if there's deadlines for certain things, and then the dependency is exactly what needs to get done by that standpoint. Like I said, you can have a conversation with somebody, a clear conversation about what is expected from you and them in this, so that it's clear. But there could also be a chart laid out so that everybody can just see who's responsible for what. And then, if anything, if maybe they're completely aware what it means when you assign them something, but if they're not, they can just go to the person who created this chart, or the decision maker or the leader of this project, and ask them to clarify exactly what is needed, so that then that's always all completely clarified as well. Or the leader can just go and have that conversation with them already and just make sure that, all right, here's what I need you to do, and here's the due date, and you're the owner of this thing, you're the person responsible for this, and here's what we need you to have done dependency wise. Right now, is there any questions that I need to clarify for you? Is there any questions you have where I can clarify absolutely anything before we start? And they should obviously just say that, so that the leader is already taking charge and making sure that they're asking this person if it's already clear. Obviously, I hope if they ask as well, but you just ask first. Don't even, if you're a decision maker in charge of something, you don't leave anything up to chance. You literally, that's why they call you a shark if you're a business owner, literally, or they call you a shark because you literally go hunt down exactly what needs to get done. You go find it, seek it out, and you make sure it's exactly the way it needs to be done, and it's all on you. If you don't make sure you do all these things, yeah, like, it's actually your fault. You should have just made sure prior to that. So you need to go to wherever you need to go, figure out exactly what needs to get done, and then make sure everything's clear, and then do what you got to do. And there should be no, oh, what happened? Like, no, you go and make sure it happens. And if it can't, then that immediately. Maybe you find another worker, or maybe you do it yourself, uh, or maybe you dedicate funding towards finding somebody who's gonna, and then pay them to do it. Like, you have to be on top of everything, right? It's just like, oh yeah, um and excuse me, I've been using the business example for a lot recently. This is not what it's talking about here, but like, still the same mentality. Like, make sure everything's clear. If you don't do that, yes, if something happens, now oh, what happened? Now you got to go scramble to figure out what happened, and now you know that could lead to a setback or whatever. But you can easily prevent that by just making sure you were clear beforehand. So if something doesn't happen, you know exactly why, because there was already been listed who was responsible and what they're supposed to do. And if they didn't do it, it's either that person just disappeared and it's not done because that person's not even present anymore, or they would just report to you exactly why it didn't happen, and then as a fact, then exactly why, and then now you can just go from there, right? Do you do it yourself, or do you assign it to somebody else? Um, but there should never be any confusion, really. Uh, you can prevent pretty much all confusion unless you're doing something you've never done before, and something pops up that you've never seen before out of nowhere. Then you have to obviously figure that out. But if it's other than that, like you should always have awareness because it's within your ability to do so. Because you could have made sure that you were clear about everything. So how could you be confused if you made sure you're clear beforehand, right? You could be clear about everything you have information or access to information about, right? So fourth prompt after that little kind of unnecessary segue, using this presentation outline and source notes, generate 5 likely audience questions. For each, state the source of or evidence I should review before answering. Do not invent answers, sources, or audience reactions. And then would have pasted the outline and would have pasted the source notes. Now, using the same fictional course presentation scenario, what exactly does the LinkedIn messaging gap checklist review? Source or evidence to review, the source overview in the source notes, which states that the checklist is for reviewing 10 LinkedIn posts. The second is, what does the checklist focus on identifying? Source evidence to review is the purpose section of the source notes, specifically the statement about identifying repeat messaging gaps. Third is, how many recommendations are included in the completed review? In the source evidence to review is the recommendation section, which states that the completed review includes 5 priority recommendations. And 4 is, what format is the resource provided in? The source or evidence to review is the format section of the source notes, which describes the resource as a one-page checklist. And the 5th is, does the reading say that the resource measures business outcomes? The source or evidence to review is, review the full source notes for any explicit statement about measuring business performance or outcomes. Now, what did this answer do? This answer, it uses a presentation outline, just getting back to exactly having the prompt kind of at least somewhere in the middle of the screen. So this uses using the presentation outline as source notes, generate 5 likely audience questions. So I just read off the 5 likely audience questions, and for each we stated the source or evidence I should review before answering, and we did not invent any answers, we did not invent any sources, and we did not invent any audience reactions. And as you can see, obviously, here's the questions. There's all 5 of them that I just read off, and right under each question, so let's say the first question, for example, says, what exactly does the LinkedIn messaging gap checklist review? Right under it says the source and evidence to review, and then we listed the we listed the source or evidence to review for this exact question. And then we did that for each one. We hashed the question, and then there was a source or evidence to review section, and we stated exactly where the source of evidence to review was regarding that specific question. Right? From the likely audience questions that might be asked. So this next prompt, or the fifth prompt and 5th step, was audit this presentation against the assignment requirements. Return requirements clearly met. Let me reread this. Audit this presentation against the assignment requirements. The return that we're going to get is requirements clearly met. There's going to be items to check. There's going to be missing information and claims needing source verification. Do not grade it or rewrite the presentation. And the assigned requirements is, we'll paste that from the example. And then the slide text notes, we're going to paste from the example. Now, this video is about 30 minutes, so I'm going to have to shorten this for Instagram. It's going to cut off at 20 anyway, but it's going to be shortened. So here's the thing. So requirements clearly met section. It includes a main point about the LinkedIn messaging gap checklist. The second thing is, it includes 2 evidence points about reviewing 10 LinkedIn posts and identifying 5 priority recommendations. The third is that it includes a limitation qualifier stating that the resource does not measure business performance or outcomes. The fourth is going to be, it includes a transition to the next point. The 5th is going to be that it uses plain language wording. The items to check is confirm whether the assignment requires a specific presentation length. The next item to check is going to be confirm whether the assignment requires citations or a reference list. The third item to check is going to be confirm whether the source notes provided are the completed assigned materials. And then for missing information, the first missing information thing is going to be assignment specific citation requirements, which are not provided. The second missing information thing is going to be required number of slides, which are not provided. The third missing information thing is going to be required presentation. The format's not provided. Excuse me, required presentation format, which is not provided. That's the missing information section. And then the claims needing source verification section. The first part of that is the checklist is designed around a review of 10 LinkedIn posts. The second thing in the claims needing source verification is the completed review includes 5 priority recommendations. The third thing in the claims needing review, the third thing in the claims needing source verification is the checklist is a 1-page resource. And the fourth thing in the claims needing source verification is the resource does not measure business performance or outcomes. These should be checked against the supplied course source materials before presentation. Now what did this answer do? Right? This answer was an audit. We audited the presentation against the assignment requirements, and the return that we got was requirements nearly met. The return that we got was the requirements clearly met. The items to check, the missing information in the claims needing source verification, and we did not grade it or rewrite the presentation. We used the assignment requirements and the slide text notes, which I taught the ChatGPT and gave the example, so it's not pasted there, but you see the prompt how you would put it. And what did it do? It gave as you can see, the requirements clearly met, the items to check, the missing information, and the claims needing source verification. Each of them had their own section, and then and we listed all the parts for each of those sections, right? And we did not grade it or rewrite the presentation. So that's the system. And what did the system do again? I'm just gonna read the exact name again. So what this system does, I'm gonna read the exact summarizing title again. So what this exact system does is, looking for the exact line so I can read that. So it builds a presentation you can explain and defend. That's exactly what this system did. By causing you to literally utilize prompts in the system that would cause you to have all your information set up in such a manner that it's easy to defend and it's easy to present, and you're very, very clear on everything you're literally gonna say at all. And then obviously even the rehearsal part, which is just extra icing on the cake. Now, if you like access to high quality systems and prompts like this, you can find them inside Promptify. It's free to start, and the link is in the bio. Also, if there's anything that I said today that was helpful, that is amazing, and I hope you have a great day.